Anyway, how's things with you, Doug? I will just keep, I did check the antenna again today. I went out there and took a good look at it because I finished it before dark last night and everything looked okay. I checked it with an analyzer again. The impedance is about 32 ohms. Have you ever used a two coaxes to make a matching section with a quarter wave matching section? If I use 75 ohm and 50 ohm, it'll produce 30 ohms at the antenna and 50 in the shack. So I could match it up to almost a perfect match. You ever done that, Doug? WT6R, K4RVN.
K4RVN, WT6R. Well, first of all, let me say that I did get your emails, and I did read about that 32 ohms. And I think you were right what you said in there, that you can't really judge it on one day's propagation. You have to use it for a while. And yes, I have done that. Actually, I did it in accordance with the instructions on my butternut vertical when I had it. And it used a quarter wavelength section of 75, and then it was spliced into 50. But if you can use the 75 ohm coax and then hook it up to the 50, as long as you have good impedance for your radio, it can be anything at the antenna. So you don't have to worry about it being, a 50 ohm load out there. It just needs to match up to your transmitting equipment. So yeah, that does work. And that's pretty common on vertical arrays like that. They will run a quarter, especially on a monobone array, they'll run a quarter wave section of 75 ohm to each of the two. And that's the way they can either fire it broadside or end to end, if you know what I mean. Over.
Okay, well, this one, I was looking at how to match it up. I've done it, for years, but I've never actually used that. I have used a 75 ohm quarter wave matching section, but I've never used two in parallel like that. So I'm going to do that. A lot of people will buy a balance, like a 2-to-1 or 1-to-2 or something, but I'm not going to do that. I've got the coax. It's kind of hard to find 59U anymore. I looked at DX Engineer, and they don't even have it listed in their catalog. I got on the internet, and they didn't have any on the internet. So I've got some. And man, I got some real good RG. It's a substitute for RG Synth. It's actually a cable company drop that they use on their lines on the poles. And old boy gave me, I got about 300 or 400 feet of it. The only bad part about it, it's sticky. It's waterproof. And what you have to do, instead of soldering it, you have to just clean it, the shield, and use something like brass or stainless steel bolt and nut, or screw and nut, and make you a little box there with a coax fitting, so you can screw a PL259 into it. But that's no big deal for me. I can do that. Anyway, I'm going to use that I think I'm going to use it for my beverage antenna I'm going to install this fall. I'm going to run that beverage antenna way back up in the woods. I think I'm going to point it west so I can hear New Zealand and Australia and points out west, because I have a lot of difficulty hearing them. I'm the opposite from you. You know, you can hear them real well, but you don't do too good to Europe. So I'm just the opposite. I do real good here in Europe, but I can't hear New Zealand and Australia except at peak times. Anyway, Doug, thank you for the info. I've never fooled with any verticals. I did have a Hustler 4B TV way back in the 60s, but I never did anything but just hook the coax to it and use it, so don't know anything about them. But, you know, they're interesting, but they'll never live up to a wire beam, but they are interesting. So if you lived on a salt marsh, you'd probably do real well. WT6R, K4RVN.
K4RVN, WT6R. Well, that brought up a couple of interesting questions for me, at least. That coax that you have, that roller that you've got, you might tell me what does that look like when you open it up? Is it, and what is the shield, and what is the center conductor made out of? Is the center conductor solid, like most, like RG6 is, or what does it have? And I know I have used RG6 for that purpose, and it's a real bugger to hook up, like you said. You have to figure something out, because most of the ones I used had an aluminum. Well, they had aluminum foil somewhere in there, and they also had an aluminum braid shield on it, which whatever, I think it was aluminum, whatever it was, I couldn't solder or anything like that to it. And it was, I had to get creative, just like you were talking about, in order to use it. And you're right, I didn't think about that, but if what you're doing is using two parallel pieces of 75, then that will answer to just your normal resistance and parallel formula of 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. So basically, since they're equal, it's going to be half of 75 for when you use two of them. So I'm wondering, when you use it on the beverage, running it in from the field out there, you're not going to transmit into the beverage. You can just use one strand of it, right? You don't need to use two runs on your beverage, do you? Back to you.
No. And this TV drop cable, I forget the numbers on it. I did look it up. It's about 3 times as large as RG6, and it has a shield, no aluminum that I could see, and the inner conductor is solid, and it's got some kind of gummy, sticky stuff in it. And I don't know what the shield is. It does not look like copper. It looks like something else. But I'll have to clean that and just wrap it around a stainless steel screw and nut, machine screw or something like that. Make me a little box and then put me one of those chassis connectors on the box so I can screw a PL259 in it. But that stuff is, it's not available. I've never seen anybody with any of it but the cable companies. And I don't think they use it anymore. I'm not sure. I never have seen any of it. But I got a great big old reel of it. And I'm glad to have it. You could use it for transmission line if you wanted to. But no, I will not be doing any transmission. I wind my own beverage transformers from high impedance to 50 or 75 ohms, and I use number 26 wire. So light up if you transmitted a KW into it, no doubt about it. But I won't be doing that. This 7610 has a receive-only antenna, and it uses a BNC connector on that receive-only. And then it has two regular antennas. You can use one or two for a beverage if you wanted to, but you do have to touch the screen. And it's possible to transmit into one of them. But on the receive only, you cannot transmit into that one. That's probably the one I'm going to use, because I'm bad about forgetting stuff like Bob did on his and burned his transformer out. Anyway, yeah, I will be using a 50 ohm RG8X and a 75 ohm RG59U, and it will give me 30 ohms. That's what the antenna side will be, 30 ohms. And then when I connect the other end, it'll be 50 ohms to the jack. I got that off the internet, and it's pretty easy math to do it. I can do it. And, I learned my math from Jethro Bodine. Jethro taught me everything I know. He went to 3rd grade. So there you go, Doug. WT6R, K4RVN.
Bodine. Yeah, I think he used to live right down the street from me in Mount Pleasant when I lived there, in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And it was his wife used to come out on the porch. They had 2 kids, and this is the true story, Frank. They had 2 kids, cute little guys named Dwayne and Jeff. And she would come out in the afternoon. They would go play after school, and then she'd come out on her porch, and she would say, "Jill, Dwayne, time to come home," and they could always tell when their mama was calling. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good to work. I assume that 22 or 23 size wire that you're winding on those balance, on that beverage transformer is the enamel coated magnet wire, what I call the stuff you wind motors with, something like that, right? Over.
Exactly right. And I've tried to insulate it, but you have to use real tiny wire because those little binocular coils are very small. They won't take very big wire. Yeah, I use number 26. One of them is red, and the other is green. So I use the red for the high side and the green for the low side. And a guy like me can remember then which is which if I write it on a pad somewhere. Green is 50 or 75 ohm. But I ordered about a dozen of those little coils, and I ordered a spool each of the green and red wire off the internet, I think from eBay. And I've wired 4 or 5 of them. I burned up a couple. I didn't burn them up, but lightning or static did. And let me tell you, those things attract lightning. You can say what you want to. You put a long wire 7 feet above the ground in the woods, and it attracts lightning. And I have burned up several termination resistors. In fact, I got probably about a half a dozen left. I ordered a dozen of them. They're old stock carbon type, which is what WHJI old Tom down there has on his internet site. And anyway, I couldn't get the exact resistance I wanted, so sometimes I have to put two of them together or put two of them in parallel to get the exact resistance. Usually around 450, 470 ohms, and that'll work fine. But I even ordered some of those little gas bulbs that burn out when charge hits them, and put that across those resistors. And I did burn out a couple of them and saved the resistor where I didn't have to go down in the woods and rig up another resistor. You know, what I did, I twisted them together, the wires together, and used those little old things you screw on the end of wire nuts, they call them. Because you can't solder way down in the woods. Anyway, Doug, I'm not about to get out there in the woods with all the ticks and the snakes and the chiggers and the spiders. Last time I put up an antenna in the summer, a spider bit me on the chest. It didn't hurt at first. The next day, my whole chest was red and it swelled up. I'm telling you, that old spider dropped down my shirt and bit me on the chest, and it actually had fang marks on my chest where it bit me. When I looked the next day, I had a heck of a time with that. It took me about 2 weeks to get over it. WT6R, K4RVN.
K4RVN, WT6R. Oh yeah, I know what you're going through. Well, you asked me, or you said to me a couple weeks ago that, you know, you saw a snake or something, the snakes were starting to crawl. Well, it wasn't until today. It's been so cold out here, but I opened my garage door, and right there's like a little hole under the corner of the garage door, and inside the garage door, there was a big old gopher snake laying there. He had his head right by that hole. Like, he looked at me like, you know, you're spoiling my fun here, you know. I think he was waiting for a mouse to come through that hole there. He didn't run or anything, and I left him alone. I'm thinking, well, I'd rather he eat those mice than have them going in my car, you know. Even though I had the hood open and everything. But so now I'm kind of I'm a little bit more cautious now, because if the gopher snakes are crawling, then the rattlesnakes are crawling too. Because it's been a real good year for the rodents. Lots of things like that around for them to eat. Yeah, I would not go in the woods in South Carolina or Georgia ever in the summer. Everything down there looks like poison oak or poison ivy to me, although I'm probably wrong. But it looks like it could really get you. But yeah, not too much going on here. I took a drive up over Mount Palomar Mountain. I think you know where that's at, where the observatory is. Hey, believe it or not, as long as I've lived here in Southern Cal, I've never been up there. So I drove over that, and the only thing is I didn't get a good view because the cloud level was down to the 2,500 foot level. So from there up to 5,500 feet, all I saw was white. Anyway, back to you.
WT6R, K4RVN. Very fine there, dude. Yeah, I heard you telling somebody about that. I don't know where that is, but I don't know much about California. But even though I spent 4 months out there and been back a couple of times. Anyway, if you ask me about a particular bar, I might remember that in San Diego. But yeah, I'm glad you got to go up there. You know, we got a little town right below Atlanta here named Warner Robins, Georgia. And that's where they had a bunch of those big old bomber airplanes down there that they took care of. Those years old or 30. But anyway, they got an air museum and all kinds of stuff, and I have never been there. I go within 20 miles of that place. I used to work about 35, 40 miles from there for a year, and I've never been there. And one of these days, I'm going to go over there and look at that place. But I'm like you, you know, there's a lot of places around here I've never been, and we've got several places in the mountains that I just never have been. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to take a week one of these days, if I live long enough, and just go up there and stay a week and visit some of those places. There's a lot to see in California if you take the time. You got mountains and oceans, and I used to read. I took Trailer Life magazine back when I had a travel trailers over about a 25-year period. They had a guy who used to write in there. And I tell you, when you get up in Northern California, way up in the mountains, it's a different world from what it is down there around L.A. and San Diego, down in that neck of the woods. And he used to write about some of the escapades up there. You know, they are way back in the woods, and they don't even know what's going on down there in Southern California. But it's one big state, and it's got some beautiful places. It's a shame that some of the politics has screwed it up like it is, like San Francisco and Los Angeles. Anyway, that's just my opinion. What I know. WT6R, K4RVN.
K4RVN, WT6R. Well, after 90 years, I think you have a few gems of wisdom in there, a lot of truth, as they say, in your head. Yeah, well, I have a friend that him and his wife are over in Idaho. He has a son that lives north of Boise, Idaho, a place called Emmett, and he has a camper on the back of a pickup on a Dodge truck. Is it a Dodge? No, I guess he's got a Chevy now. Anyway, it's one of those Lance, campers that you slide in the back of a truck. And they called me night before last, and they were in Ketchum, Idaho. That's up in that area where Sun Valley and Ketchum, where I don't know, where a lot of the rich people used to have homes, or Hemingway used to write books or something. I've never actually been up in there. I was, of course, in the Navy. I was over at the Pocatello, Blackfoot, Marco area, and I was out at the Naval Reactor Testing Station out there. But he's going to come south into Nevada sometime and go to Fish Lake Valley. I don't know where that's at either, but they're making kind of a trip around. But he's not quite as old as me. He's just about going to turn 80. His wife was about 76, but they do okay. They have 2 border collies they take with them. That's a little kind of tight, constricted area for me with 2 dogs, but if you can do it, well, good on you. K4RVN, WT6R.
WT6R, K4RVN. Yeah, I had a slide-in pickup truck camper one time. I don't like those things. They're heavy, small, top heavy. Of course, I didn't have you need a real good truck for one of those. My son just bought a new GMC turbo diesel, 80-something thousand bucks, list price, 86, I think. He didn't pay quite that for it, but he paid a lot of money. You could buy a house in the old days for what he paid for that. But this weekend he's picking up his new travel trailer. He bought a little small Winnebago, but it's a hunting. You know, it's got power jacks on it. It's on the front, and the leveling jacks are power. It's got 375 watts of solar on it, already connected, and with a charger. All that mess where you can boondock and stay out there a few days. But I don't do that anymore. Don't plan to ever do it again. I wish I miss it, but it's a lot of work. I tell you. Yeah, fine. I got a good radio friend up there, old Ken K6BF. He's got a summer place up there. It's an old farm he bought, and he got some acreage. And he's got, I don't know how many elements his wire beam is now, but it was somewhere around 8 or 10 elements, or maybe more. Somewhere along in there, I forgot. But he and he's the one that modeled that vertical for me with a reflector on it. I did I worked one guy today on that vertical, Doug. He was from Florida, next door, and off the back end of the reflector. So anyway, I was 5'9" with him, but usually I don't work anybody in Florida. I just skip right over. Old Ken out there, it's too cold out there in the wintertime. He goes over to Utah, I think it is. He's a Mormon, so he goes over there somewhere. That's his home state. I think he's got a condo or something over there he lives in. But he knows a lot about radio, and he's really smart on that modeling. And he's got an old Ten-Tech Corsair, I think it is, transceiver he's redone. That thing does a great job. But he's always helping me out on antennas, very knowledgeable. Anyway, I did do pretty good with Bill. I heard you did too. He was coming in good over here on the East Coast, but it wasn't quite daylight. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Doug, I talked with Patty from Canada last night. She broke in. I forget who I was talking to, somebody. Oh, hey, can't remember. Might have been you. Anyway, Patty broke in. She was coming in pretty good. WT6R, K4RBN.
K4RBN, WT6R. Well, when you spoke to Patty, were you on 40 meters? I assume that you probably were. I tried. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat there. I tried to talk to her this morning on 14190, 20 meters at 9 a.m. our time, and I could barely hear her in there on 20 meters,